Welcome to Bet On It. It is NFL Week 5. I am Kelly Stewart, joined by Marco D'Angelo and Joe Raineri. If you guys missed the Monday show, Marco would like to provide a little clarification.
Yeah, Kelly, on Monday, you asked me how was my weekend, how'd Sunday go? And I answered you with I went 2-2-1 and set off the YouTube universe and Twitter into a little bit of a shitstorm. It was like, oh my God, you lie. You're right. No, calm down, everybody. When she asked me, I told her what I did with the clients. We all know that the NFL show last week sucked. No bones about it. And you really can't hide a bad performance on a show when it's on the internet and it stays on the internet for everybody to see and go back and replay and look at the records. Yeah, I went 0-4 on the show last week. 2 of those 4 plays happened to be the 2-2-1 that I had for my clients on Sunday. So just want to clarify that. I'll try to be a little more specific whenever you ask me a question, Kelly, in my answer. So now that that's all clarified, hope everybody's okay. We can all kiss and make up. Yes, Marco had a horrible NFL show last week. We're here to rebound. The first 3 were good. I'm sorry. But you know what, Kelly? If we can win 3 out of every 4 weeks on the show all season long, I'll take it.
I will as well, Marco. Thursday night. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Indianapolis at Denver. This total has already come down. This line's already gone up because no Jonathan Taylor. Denver currently 3, and we're going to start seeing some 3.5s here shortly. Total opened 43.5, now down to 42. Marco, I don't want to even watch this game. I'm going to be begging the prop shop crew for something to give it to make it more watchable. As a Denver Broncos fan, I would not be surprised to see them lose this game to a JT-less Colts with Matt Ryan under the helm.
Well, Kelly, they should rename this one the most underachieved, overhyped teams playing one another entering this one, because let's face it, full disclosure, I like this Indianapolis Colts team coming into the season. I thought the addition of Matt Ryan was the right fit for a team that, was so close the last few years, and it just hasn't panned out that way. And we all heard the hype, obviously, with Russell Wilson coming to Denver. Neither team has got anywhere close to where they should be. But I'm looking at this one, and I just can't get past the fact that we've got an opportunity here to take the Colts plus the points. I can't lay points with Denver in here right now. Indianapolis has been their own worst enemy. They've got 9 turnovers in 4 games so far. Last week, 3 turnovers in the biggest game of the season for them to date, because it was against Tennessee, the team that they're supposed to battle for the division title. -3, when you lose the turnover battle by 3, you're supposed to get blown out in those games. They only lost the game, they lost the game last week by 15 points. Yeah, they did get blown out, but like I said, self-inflicted. Can they keep it clean against Denver? They should be able to. This Denver team can't score. 16 against Seattle, 16 against Houston, 11 against San Francisco. They did get 23 last week. One of the touchdowns was in garbage time when the game was pretty well decided and the Raiders were in prevent. I can't back Denver here laying points. So for me, this is one where I'm taking the dog or I'm not playing. Small lean to Indianapolis plus the 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and call it Colts 24-20. I think both teams are going to score just a little bit more than people think, as Russell Wilson should start to get acclimated to this Denver offense. And as far as the Colts go, if they don't turn it over, they can score some points.
God, I don't know, Marco. Primetime under still cashing it at a pretty incredible rate. I can't see these 2 teams putting up a hell of a lot of offense. Denver can't get much going. And, man, their defense has been what's really, I think, kept them in most of this. Joe, help me make sense of this. The under 9-0 in Indianapolis's last 9 games. Denver 5-12-1 in their last 18 as a favorite. I just want to go to bed early on Thursday night at this point.
I'll give you even more numbers to this, because this is truly going to be like watching paint dry here. Unders at mile high, guys. You ready for this? 39, 22, and 1, 64% since 2015. Couple in the fact that both of these defenses, while not perfect, are top 6 overall defenses. So points are going to be hard to come by with two teams that have just lost major weapons in the running back spot there. Philip Lindsay, somebody took him from seating people at Applebee's, and now he's going to be running the ball, just to give you an idea how terrible this is going to be. You mentioned it, Cal. I mean, 9 consecutive now for the Colts, undefeated since last December. Oh, yeah, and under in their games by over 8 points a game. So these are teams that are having some issues figuring it out offensively. And, oh, yeah, this is not a great spot for either of them to try and put it together. 9-4 so far this season, unders at night. If you go back even further, guys, 103, 73, and 3 to the under since 2019, these games at night. I mean, call me crazy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Team totals also look to me the first half here. 20.5, I think, is the number right about now, Cal. I don't see 3 touchdowns in the first half. This is going to be a grind amount kind of game once again on a Thursday night. If any scoring is going to happen, I think it happens in the second half. It doesn't happen in the first half. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I ain't arguing it. Give me the under in the first half.
Makes sense to me. Marco says the Colts. Joe says the first half under. Sunday night primetime, Cincinnati at Baltimore. Baltimore just a 3-point favorite at home. Makes you go, Joe already inserted the sound effect for me. Total 48.5. Joe, I'm going to go to you first. Everybody wants to know why I'm always taking certain trash teams like the Commies last week, because I love those divisional road dogs. Ralph Michael provides some excellent TNA always on those. So I'm leaning towards the Bengals here. But this Ravens team, man, they have just done me in 2 second halves this year. One against Miami, they gave up a 31-17 lead. And then last week, another 17-point lead. They end up getting the push if you bet it late if you bet it early like I did. If you bet it late, you won by the hook with the Ravens. I don't know what to make of this Ravens team. I know that I will be looking at halftime as possibly betting against them, but help me make sense of this one, because this sure seems like a very trappy line.
It is a trappy line, and this is another game. So I'm having a hard time, Cal. I'm looking at the totals in this game, and I'm looking at the fact that 9 straight unders have cashed in Bengals games right now, which is a little worrisome. But then you look over at Baltimore, and you look, they are one of the top 3 teams when it comes to combined points per game in the first 4 weeks. Cal, Baltimore 54.8 points a game. I mean, the total in this one is 48. I do think the Bengals are starting to get it going a little bit offensively. I think this was to be expected with them. I have no doubt that Baltimore, and we have seen them, they dropped 20 on a damn good defense of the Buffalo Bills and then disappeared in the second half. I think weather might have played a little role to that. Lamar had a tough game. I don't even think he threw 150 yards in that game, Cal. But what I do know is that Lamar has always bounced back with really poor passing performances the next game. We're not talking about a lights-out defense here with Cincinnati by any stretch. So when I put it together, and I know 9 straight unders by Cincinnati, but I think that goes away this game. I'm looking at the up and over the total in this one, Cal. I do think we're going to have a shootout of sorts here. I think Baltimore gets it right. Lamar gets it right. Points are coming in this game, I think, by both. And I do think Baltimore's already shown that in the first 4 games. Yeah, they don't mind a good shootout here if they can just play, 2 halves, 4 quarters. The over hits easily.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. I don't want to take the under here. This is a Ravens team that outside of that Jets game week 1 has given up more than 30 points in their last 3 games. I do not want to touch that under. On the flip side, Marco, the Bengals got a lot of grief for those first 2 games, even first 3 games, where Joe Burrow was just getting absolutely, utterly obliterated in the backfield. May look like they've made some adjustments, at least as far as last week goes, I don't know if this Ravens defense is going to be able to pressure him enough, at least not from what I've seen from them thus far.
Yeah, no question, Kelly. The Baltimore defense has not played well this season. Baltimore does play with double revenge from last year. They got embarrassed with both games against Cincinnati, giving up 41 points to the Bengals in both meetings. And here's my problem with the game. Coach Harbaugh, I've always considered him one of the best coaches in the NFL. But he has made some recent questionable decisions that might make me have to start to rethink that. Last year, we talked about it several times. There was 2 to 3 games where he made decisions late in the game where he either bypassed kicking a tying field goal or kicking a tying extra point to avoid going to overtime to try to win it in regulation. And it was because his reasoning last year was, we were decimated with injuries, and I didn't think we could win in overtime. Okay, they did have a lot of injuries last year, and I'll buy that maybe. But last week, did you see the decision he made? There's 4 minutes left in the game. It's a 20-20 game. It's 4th and goal from the 2-yard line. He bypasses the go-ahead field goal to go for the touchdown. They throw an interception in the end zone, so the ball comes out to the 20. After the game, his reasoning for doing that was he said he didn't want to put his defense in a bad position. Bad position. You're giving your defense the lead with 4 minutes to play. His reasoning is if we went up 3, that meant Buffalo was going to be in 4-down mode the rest of the game. Oh, you don't think if it came down to a 4th down to tie the game that Buffalo's not going to do the right thing and kick the field goal and go to overtime, John? Come on. What you just told us is you don't have faith in your defense. And that's probably the same message last year, only you used the injuries as an excuse. So I'm scared to back Baltimore for a full game. But what I'm not scared to back them in is the first half. This team has come out fast in every game this season. They've had the lead all 4 games at the half. In several of them, they had big leads at the half. It's the second half that they've been non-existent or that defense has gotten exposed. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and try Baltimore for the first half, being that it's a Sunday night game. It is a division game. And as I said, they did lose both meetings to Cincinnati last year. And we remember, Baltimore missed the playoffs by just 1 game last year. So let's go ahead, take Baltimore. First half, you're getting them at -2.5 on the first half wager. We cash that ticket. Maybe I'll be looking for a second half wager the other way, or maybe looking at the over when points start coming in bushels in that second half. So first half, Baltimore, -2.5.
I love that, Marco. I am in agreement with you there. I am not touching them for another full game until we see a little bit more from that defense. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's time for some TNA.
You're a winner at WagerTalk even before the game is played with our Wager Rewards program. How does it work? Simple. Earn wager rewards on every purchase made at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Those wager rewards can be converted into wager bucks on the first of every month. There is no additional fee to participate, and no additional details are required outside your valid WagerTalk or Sports Memo membership. On the first of each month, 5% of your wager rewards will be converted to wager bucks, which are available to purchase on all future purchases. Doesn't it feel good to be part of a rewards program with no additional hoops?
Welcome back to Bet On It. Kelly Stewart here with my favorite guy who always brings the TNA to the show, Ralph Michaels at CalSportsLV on Twitter. If you have a question for him, definitely tweet this man. He's coming in hot with all of the NFL trends and angles for this week. Ralph, I know you've got 4 different trends, angles, and or situations for us. And then we're going to finish off with talking about the bye weeks.
Absolutely. You know what, Kel? I started off the college football TNA segment saying I sounded like a broken record. Well, I may again, but I'm just trying to reiterate. When you get a 60% system that continues to win year in and year out in the NFL, in college football, it's something you have to take note of and make sure you have those games marked for the upcoming week. Well, What happens when a team is off a straight up an ATS win, facing a team that's off a straight up an ATS loss? And the lines between the threes? Well, it's now 56-38 the last 5 years. That's 60% against the spread. And again, 60% is not a wow number, but when you're getting 2, 3, or 4 games in this situation each week, 60% is a solid betting situation. So the game has to be between the threes, one team off a straight up an ATS win, one team off a straight up an ATS loss, a 60% win mark. 3 teams fall into that category. The Chargers against Cleveland, the Jets against Miami, and Tennessee against Washington, all with the momentum in a closely lined game.
So, Ralph, really quick, I want to interrupt just because I wanted to make sure that our audience knows. So that is a play on situation.
It's playing on the team that won straight up an ATS. So, yes, the momentum has continued in the NFL when the line's between the threes. So the Chargers, the Jets, and Tennessee are all the teams that did win and cover last week, playing the opponents that failed to win or cover in the closely lined games.
Perfect. I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
The second one, we talked about double revenge over in the college football TNA segment. Well, how about this? You have double revenge, and now you're a division favorite of 6 points or less. And your previous game, you were a non-division dog. So it sounds convoluted, but it's really not. Last week, you were a non-division underdog, like Baltimore, like Indy, and New England. All of those threes were dogs in non-division opponents. Now you're facing a foe that has beat you twice. And now you're a favorite of 6 or less. So, Baltimore, Indy, and New England all fit into the situation. This situation, 0 wins, 14 ATS losses. So it's not a huge sample size, but something that sticks out. So that means even though Baltimore, Indy, and New England have double revenge, and they're a favorite this week, this is a fade spot for them. 0 ATS wins, 14 ATS losses. It says to fade Baltimore, fade the Colts, and fade the Patriots. And one more that I have, this is from our good friend Ron Cabang, UCapper over at Sports Memo. And we're going to talk a little bit more about buys, but when you have a division game with a buy on deck and your opponent's next game is against a division foe, again, it sounds complicated, but it's not. So you're playing a division opponent. The team you're playing also has a division game next week, and you have a buy on deck. 21 ATS wins, 5 ATS losses. That is 81% against the spread. Both Houston and Washington fit into the system. So Houston is playing Jacksonville. Houston has a bye next week. Jacksonville has a division game next week. Washington has a bye next week. They're playing the Giants, who also have a division game next week. So it's a play-on system, 81% on both Houston and Washington, Kelly, which I know you love. Have the Washington Communists made your do not bet list?
Yeah, Ralph, the comedy should have been on my do not bet list weeks ago. But after last week, it was just one of those games that you get so frustrated watching that I just said, okay, I'm done. And then now here I am on a Wednesday morning tweeting about how I can't wait to bet on the team formerly known as the Washington football team. But what scares me more, and this is the truth, is that I was considering Jacksonville for Survivor this week. That makes me very apprehensive, but we will see. Speaking of those buys, yeah, no kidding. Speaking of those buys, I'm curious to see if you've got our first nerd chart ready for the season. I love when you put these together. It just works better for my brain, you know?
And you know what? I do it on WagerTalk today all the time, and I will start doing more charts here because it really does help you visualize. And the thing is this, Kel, how many times do we look and say, oh, this team is a favorite off a bye, and all of a sudden, America thinks that's a positive. Oh, they're rested, they're at home, they're the better team, they're a favorite. Well, if Dan, our main man producer, could throw up the chart. Okay, the top is NFL pre-buys. I'm going to skip that for a second and start at the bottom. So under the WagerTalk logo, since 2015, if you played on every home favorite after a bye week, you have won 43%. If you played on every home dog after a bye week, you have cashed 46.7%. So I bet if you go to 9 of 10 people at a bar and you say, if an NFL favorite is coming off and is rested off a bye week, is that a positive or a negative? I would bet you 9 out of 10 people say that absolutely is a positive. Look at those numbers. 43% against the spread, playing on an NFL team as a home favorite off a bye. Away dogs have done fine after a bye. So away dogs that are rested now go on the road, aren't expected to win. They cover 56.1%. But how many people pay attention to the top half of the chart? How many people pay attention to teams before a bye? Well, take a look when you're at home and you have a bye on deck and think it through. These NFL players know they're going to have a good performance. They're going to get a couple days off. They're going to spend time with family and friends. How are they going to go into that week? They're going to give their absolute all with an upcoming bye. Home favorites and home dogs have been over 61.5% when they have a bye the next week. Away favorites and away dogs aren't in the green, but I'll tell you what, they're 50% or better. So mark those NFL teams that have a bye on deck and think about fading those home teams coming off a rested, distracted week and now being the favorite in front of their fans.
Good stuff, as always, from Ralph. Again, if you guys aren't following him on Twitter, at CalSportsLV, you're missing out on more TNA. Thank you to Ralph. We're going to kick it back to Marco and Joe for my least favorite segment. That's right. It's time for those stupid teasers. I already dropped enough F-bombs on the show last week, so I will refrain from reading my notes that I have in regards to teasers. But notice I already did text Johnny in Detroit and said, hey, remember a few years ago you wanted to axe this segment? Yeah, I think this segment's dead. I don't even know why we're doing it. Every single primetime teaser, low total, doesn't matter, gets blown out of the water. I'm just over it, Marco. You promised me on Monday it was going to be better, and it just got worse. Like, I'm done with these teasers. Sanford Wong is seeing regression like he's never seen in his life.
Well, Kelly, if you do remember on Monday, I was trying to get you to hedge some of that back on the 49ers.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The point is, it doesn't matter what you're hedging back. The point is that something that has been consistent for so long, and now it's just not. It is just trash. I think we should just stop doing this segment, and then maybe they'll start hitting again.
In all seriousness, Kelly, you know who I blame for this? In all of the ones we're losing on the teasers are not the big favorites, bringing them down to under the field goal. It's the small dogs that we're taking up over the touchdown. I blame the math guys, the new math telling the coaches what to do on these fourth and twos and so forth, because they're not working out or they're scoring points more, and it's taking them out of that comfort zone where these games would always fall in, under that 8.5. Now we're getting the 9, 10, and 11 point finishes, and it's blowing up the teasers. I'm dead serious on that. So,
you know what I'm going to do after the show today, before we get to your teaser? I'm going to ask Ralph, because he always makes me those little nerd charts, and we know that games land 3, they land 4, they land 6, they land 7, they land 9, they land 10. And then, of course, 5 is coming into play, 2's coming into play, 1's coming into play. But I'm curious to see, starting, like you just mentioned, that 9 to 13 range, whatever it is, particularly 9, 10, and 11, just because that takes you right out of that 8.5 teaser range. So I will ask Ralph for that and bring it back, and maybe some of these will just start hitting, and so we don't have to focus on it anymore.
I want to know what the math is on Stafford throwing a pick 6.
I was going to leave that out of here, but Joe, I'll let you get to that during your teaser segment. Marco, looks like you have a very untraditional teaser for this week.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we're taking two favorites, getting them down under the field goal. And that's the way I'm going to go with it. You got Green Bay that last week laid an absolute egg, and it was the perfect spot for them to do that. They played New England. Not only did you have Green Bay coming off that big game against Tampa Bay, Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Don't tell me he wasn't pumped up for that, especially since he lost the last two meetings to Brady. And that was sandwiched in between going across the sea to play in London this week. Yeah, they looked right past New England, and throw in the fact that New England didn't have their starting quarterback. Okay, you'll get a focused Green Bay this week against the Giants. They roll them. We use the 6-point teaser. What do? We get Green Bay down to 2. And as much as we talk about those key numbers work both ways. You get it up over 3, 4, 6, and 7. Well, you take it down through 7, 6, 4, and 3, and that's what we're doing. Move to leg 2 of the teaser, doing the same thing. We've got the Minnesota Vikings laying 7. Now, a lot of people will say they don't see as much value in taking a 7 down to 1 because you're at the touchdown, you're not over the touchdown, but we're still getting it below 7, below 6, below 4, below 3. That works for me. I'm just asking the Minnesota Vikings at home to beat the Justin Fields-led Chicago Bears. Do you think Chicago's going to win on the road? Nope, I don't. I'll go ahead. I'll take Minnesota in the second half of the teaser. Give me Green Bay. Give me Minnesota. Just have to win those games to cash this teaser. That's mine this week, Kelly.
Kirk Cousins, 3-1 to start the season for the first time in his life, and he's just getting crushed on Twitter. Everybody thinks he sucks. I'm with you, Marco. I don't see the Bears going into Minneapolis and winning that game. Joe Raineri, do you even want to do this segment? I think we should just let Marco just do the teaser segment. Like, we'll just film it on ISO going forward. I'm so frustrated. I don't even want to do this.
No. I lost my ass because of that SOB throwing a pick six for no reason. Oh, look at it. It's Cooper Kupp. Let me just throw every damn ball I have towards Cooper Kupp and watch people jump the route. I digress. That's why, though, I love Marco's approach here, Marco. I love the way you didn't go traditional. I'm not going traditional either because my two teasers are going to be, I'm taking the Jacksonville Jags and I am teasing them down to 1.5 as they take on Houston. And as you can see there, listen, the last 33 games of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have been a favorite exactly twice. Both of those games, they were a favorite against, you guessed it, the Houston Texans. And they lost their ass in both of them by more than 2 touchdowns. So I ain't messing around with 7. Oh, hell no. I will tease it down because I truly do believe this is a year in which they're going to turn a corner. I think Trevor Lawrence is. I love what Doug Peterson's doing. This is a very good, very motivated, very young Jacksonville team. They know this team. They know the Texans. I believe have beaten them, 8 in a row? Or some crazy number along those lines. So I do think Jacksonville will win this game, but given the history, I got no problem teasing that down to 1 or 1.5. And then I'm going with Sir Brady and his divorce attorneys and all. Give me Tom Brady. It's 8.5. I'm going to take it down under 3. And I'll tell you right now, here's what you need to know. You ready? Tom Brady versus the Falcons. 10-0 straight up, 9-1 against the number. Tom Brady going into a game in which they would have a possible 3-game losing streak? What? Oh, hell no. Especially it being at home. And I love the Falcons. I mean, what more can you get from a team that's 4-0 against the spread this year? They have been absolutely fantastic. But let's stop with the craziness. They got a bad taste in their mouth. Brady and company will absolutely handle business at home against the Falcons. They will win by more than a field goal, but I am so scarred by teams that should, could, and will, and in these teasers end up screwing us in the end, Cal. But I'm confident here that Brady will win by more than a field goal, and Jacksonville will handle business against Houston finally. So that's going to be my teaser.
Yeah, I'm going to take one from each of you guys. I'm going to do the Bucks and the Packers, even though I'm not actually going to do it. Or am I? You guys, this is the problem. I know that regression is here, and I still am not smart enough to not click the submit button on my telephone. We are going to take a quick commercial break. Then we can come back and ask if I'm high, because maybe I am. We'll find out if the deli is still open and which dogs are barking.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Now it is time to find out if the deli got condemned. I accused Marco of using the commies in the deli last week, but I forgot. That was his barking dog. Either way, Marco, what's going on with this sandwich game? Talk to me.
Well, last week's deli special was the Chicago Bears. That wasn't good. And yes, Kelly, I did use Washington for the barking dog that bit me right in the ass instead, that barking dog. And to be honest with you, Kelly, there is a sandwich spot this week, and I'm just going to say it. It is not going on my record. You do what you want with it.
No, Marco, you got to own it. Don't say it if you don't own it. Don't say it. The YouTube channel is going to come for your ass if you do not. There's no disclaimer. Either you got to own it or you don't.
Can you let me finish my conversation, young lady? Okay. All right. What? Did Lori come in? What? Am I cutting me off? Hey, here is what I was about to say to everybody before I was so rudely interrupted. I am not giving it out on the show to count on my record on the show. I am personally playing them, and they are going to be one of my contest plays in Circa. Is that enough?
All right. That's owning.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to say. But why is it? I mean, this is how you get a better show record, is you give out more plays. Isn't that how this works?
Yeah, well, no, because I know most people don't have the stomach for eating. They have a short memory. Okay. You lose with a bad team. I've never seen people they don't cry when you lose with a good team. That's okay. They were a good team. They had a bad game. No, they lost. Okay. But you lose with a bad team and, whoa, man, the whole world's coming to an end. Well, you're an idiot. What are you doing? There is a hell of a sandwich involving Washington this week if you want to take it. What is that sandwich? Well, it's not often that you get a sandwich that you've got the same team on both ends of the sandwich. Okay. Tennessee played Indianapolis last week. Big division game. Those are the two teams that are supposed to own that division this year. Don't tell that to Jacksonville. They think they got a chance. And they went into Indianapolis and won. Tennessee is playing for a second week in a row on the road, and they play Indianapolis again next week. They could almost wrap up the division with the sweep next week. So, yes, this is a major, major sandwich, but it's the Washington Commanders with Carson Wentz. Not everybody has a stomach for that. And just a shout out to one of our colleagues, Steve Merrill, has a show that he does each week where it's a video fade to public. I was talking with him this morning in a group chat, and this might be the most public play of the season as far as Tennessee goes. You're getting Tennessee just to win, laying less than a field goal. Okay? I'll just leave it out there at that. So you got two plays, but we're only counting the one on the show. Win or lose. Now the one you can chastise me for, I'm coming with another garbage team. I'm coming with the Carolina Panthers. And here's a spot, again, where we're looking at San Fran coming off a absolute mammoth game on Monday Night Football. Them and the Rams, that was, for all intents and purposes, we're talking about that's control of the NFC West. Nobody else is going to come close in that. division. Arizona thinks maybe they can, but they're not. This is those two teams. And it's a physical game, those two play. Now you've got San Francisco coming all the way across country on a short week to play Carolina. This is a team that not only the coach is playing for his life, a lot of rumblings coming out of Carolina that there's a very short leash around Mark Rule's collar right now. He needs to get a win, and he needs to get a win fast. Baker Mayfield, this might be the shortest love affair a quarterback's had at a new stop because it's not been good. They have generated nothing so far. I think this is a spot where San Francisco might just come in here a little bit too fat and sassy, look past this Carolina team. And we've seen in the past, San Francisco plays to the level of the competition. Granted, the Chicago game, Trey Lance was the quarterback, but it was in a monsoon, all of that. Yeah, I know. They lost that game. Then they played the game against Denver, ugly 11-10 performance. I think you're going to see one of those type of games this week, another ugly one. I'm taking Carolina. I'm taking them plus the points. And let's call for the upset. 23-21, Carolina.
Whew.
Yeah, that's also very ugly, Marco. So you're just going to get grief no matter how you look at it. Joe, I don't have a very good transition here because I'm now sick to my stomach from Marco's two plays he just gave out.
Yeah.
But I've really, really enjoyed this Are You High segment in regards to totals. So
Yes.
which game is too high this week?
Yeah, it is too high, and I think we're starting to see what happens when you get that high. It starts to come down a little bit here, and then you got to get high again, but that's actually a different story. I'm going to be looking at the Chargers and the Browns this week. Now, this opened up 48.5. It is coming down. 48s, 47.5s are starting to show up. And listen, Justin Herbert, we know what he is capable of. We know what this offense is capable of. However, he is hurt. Those ribs are a problem. A bigger problem, though, might be a rookie offensive tackle in the backup role that he has protecting his blind side. Now that is a problem. He doesn't want to get hit. They're going to try to avoid that at all costs. And meanwhile, Cleveland is going to try and keep Justin Herbert on the sideline as long as possible. How are they going to do that? Well, it's pretty simple. It's Kareem Hunt and it's Nick Chubb. And it's stop letting Jacoby Brissett throw the friggin' ball. When that happens, bad things happen. Bad things. And I don't see, even Stefanski as whacked out, and I think he was a little high at the end of that game against Atlanta there with that play calling. I think he might have been a little high. But I do think the key is very simple for Cleveland. If Clowney and, of course, I do believe the other monster there is back after Myles Garrett from the car accident, I do think both of them are going to be available for this game. I think that's going to cause the Chargers to try and be a little bit more conservative, not necessarily drop Herbert and get him in harm's way. I also absolutely see Cleveland doing what they do best. Run the ball, chew up the clock, and don't give Herbert an opportunity to throw the ball all over the place. So when it comes down to it, Cal, I think the 48.5 was way too high. I think both of these defenses are going to have some success limiting the offenses, but I do see a lot of running, so that's why I am going under in this game. 47.5 right now, Kel. I thought 48.5 was just a little too high.
I do like that under as well. Not for my fantasy team, but I do think it correlates to the side I'm looking at in that one. Marco D'Angelo, I am scrambling. We are almost to the end of the show, and I still have not told our producers my best bet yet.
Uh-oh.
I am looking at a couple of dogs. Shocker. I know. I am not going to take the commies, though. I refuse. I do not have the stomach to back Carson Wentz for a second straight week because I do think that team is really, really bad. That being said, I know you also have another bad team for your barking dogs. Let's hear who's winning outright this week.
Well, Kelly, they are a disappointment, but are they really a bad team? When you're 2-2 and your two losses have been by a grand total of 4 points, are you bad? and that is the Cleveland Browns. Yes, they bit me last week as my best bet here on the show. They bit me in the contest. They bit me everywhere you can bite me last week. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to bite me one more time.
Oof.
But this is a spot where them as a home underdog, I'm sorry. The Chargers have not shown me anything that warrants them being a road favorite. Why are they a road favorite? Well, because they got the flashy quarterback in Justin Herbert. That's it, okay? Let's forget about it. Defensively, the last 2 weeks, they gave up 151 yards on the ground to Jacksonville, and last week, 131 yards on the ground to Houston. Newsflash. Cleveland has Chubb and Hunt in the backfield, okay? If you look at those two stats that I just read you, and you have those two running backs, just like Joe said, there should be a lot of running the football, especially when you're in field goal range at the end of the game to tie the game. Don't be throwing the football and taking a sack. I am going with the Cleveland Browns here. This is a spot where I'm getting the better defense. It's a broken record, Kelly. You give me the better defense, getting points. I'm going to take that all the time. Throw it in that they're playing at home, makes it an added benefit. Add the fact that you've got the Chargers coming West Coast, playing a West Coast game for the second, West Coast to East Coast, second week in a row. I'm going with the Cleveland Browns plus the points. I'm calling for the outright upset, 31-28. Give me that home dog, Cleveland Browns.
See, and I didn't want to spoil it there after Joe said he liked the under, but that does correlate here to a Browns victory. Speaking of Joe, we know he's always coming in hot with his barking dogs, and hopefully his doesn't have rabies.
Oh no, it's got gangrene. I mean, damn, this thing has been dead for like a week and a half, and the flies are on it right now. Like, Jesus. All right, Cal, the dog that I am looking at is the New York Jets at home taking on, oh, that's right, Mr. Who? Teddy Covers. Oh, that's right. No, not that Teddy Covers. Teddy Bridgewater, who everybody seems to absolutely love here. And I don't hate Teddy Bridgewater. I think actually, hey, Teddy has been extremely profitable over the years. In fact, you're going to hear a lot of people quoting this. 43-21 against the number in his career. That is Teddy Bridgewater. He has been phenomenal. The problem is, over the last 2 years, he's 15-14. So not nearly as money as he was early on. And listen, all of the numbers, you look at all the trends here. The Jets haven't won back-to-back games since December 20th and 27th of, 2000? And then I think it only happened once in 2019, and then you got to go back to Richard Todd. Yes, I know, terrible. The Dolphins have dominated this matchup, Gal. I mean, everywhere you look, right? It's Miami. It's the Dolphins. It's Dolphins. Well, then explain to me, then why is this only a field goal game if it's so ridiculously one-sided with the Dolphins here? I think the Jets got a boost with Zach Wilson. I think this team is starting to grow up, and I think this is exactly the kind of game that should be worrying the Miami Dolphins. New quarterback, no Tua. A lot of distractions in Miami this week, guys, with the Tua story and everybody ripping the ownership and everything else. A lot of distractions. Bridgewater, I think, will be fine in this role for Miami. But to think they're just going to go to New York and run them over, it ain't happening. Even last year, as bad as the Jets were, they were able to sweep them, but they only won those games by a touchdown, a one-score game. Do not be surprised when the Jets win this game and go 3-2 on the season, man. Give me gangrene. It smells like ass, but it's a live home dog this weekend, Cal, and I'm backing him.
I'm with you, Joe. Really interesting, though. I have the WagerTalk odds screen open as we were doing. Marco's just went from 3 to 2.5, and yours just went from 3 to 3.5. And I'm going, what am I missing here?
Give me that hook.
So the market agrees with one of you, not the other one of you, but 3 in the hook with the Jets is what I will be looking for. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, it's time for Prop Shop with a special guest.
You're a winner at WagerTalk even before the game is played with our Wager Rewards program. How does it work? Simple. Earn wager rewards on every purchase made at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Those wager rewards can be converted into wager bucks on the first of every month. There is no additional fee to participate, and no additional details are required outside your valid WagerTalk or Sports Memo membership. On the first of each month, 5% of your wager rewards will be converted to wager bucks, which are available to purchase on all future purchases. Doesn't it feel good to be part of a rewards program with no additional hoops?
Welcome back to Bet On. It's now time for Prop Shop with Andy Lang and special guest Tony Mejia filling in for Ariel Epstein. Before we get started, guys, I just wanted to give you both a shout out. Crushing NFL props this season. Right now, you can get $10 off their NFL prop package using coupon code PROPS10. That's props with an S, 10. Can be used for either Tony Mejia or Andy Lang. Welcome in, gentlemen. I'm going to go to Andy first. Give me an update on those first quarter unders that you've been looking at and anything else that is on your radar for this week.
Yeah, the first quarter under strategy, another profitable week. That means we've been profitable in every week this season in the NFL, 15, 9, and 2. So these little bits of profits just add up very quickly to the bankroll. So we've got it dialed in pretty good. There are 3 teams that have hit the first quarter under in all 4 weeks. That's the Chargers, Vikings, and Patriots. So we're certainly going to be looking at them. And Kelly, only one team has hit the first quarter over in all 4 games. That is the Cincinnati Bengals. So as a team that will not be appearing on our first quarter unders, but we're taking a look at the Chargers, Vikings, Patriots, as well as a bunch of other teams that's included in all of our prop packs. Props that keep cashing, I thought might be an interesting look. These are some props that have hit every week. Some of them are a little strange. Ezekiel Elliott, this is the one that surprised me the most. And this is just the books putting out a number that's too low. He's cashed his over rushing total every week. The line this week is 46.5 against a really tough Rams defense, but Zeke has been getting it done on the rushing total. Baker Mayfield has cashed his over touchdown passes, but that's mostly because the books are putting it at half. Most quarterbacks are at 1.5. Some of them are at 2.5, but Baker, they keep putting it half and he keeps throwing a touchdown. So he's hit that every week. And then DJ Moore is 4-0 to the under on his receiving total, but a little bit of a red flag. He had 50 yards last week. He had a lot of targets and he had 6 catches, targets and catches, both highs for the season. And the books have lowered his number. It's 50.5. So DJ Moore has been a really, really good underplay, but maybe they got on the same page and you might see a good game from DJ Moore. So that might be a nice one to zig when everyone's zagging. And then team totals. If you're looking at high-scoring teams to go over, take a look at the Lions and the Jags. They are 4-0 to the over on their team totals. And the only team that is under their team total is my Indianapolis Colts. And I got to be honest, I'm probably not taking their over anytime soon. So those are some props that have been cashing every week.
And let's welcome in Tony Mejia at Mejia Dinero on Twitter. Appreciate you filling in for Ariel Epstein. So, Tony, what I'm looking from you early on before we get to your best bet for Thursday night is what you're looking at in terms of prop bets for NFL Week 5.
Well, I've got my eyes on that Sunday night game, and it's the Cowboys and the Rams. The Cowboys have really done a nice job covering on the road, so they're looking at potentially winning this game outright. But from a prop standpoint, I'm looking at sacks and Matthew Stafford being on his back once again, given how great Micah Parsons has looked. Maybe turnovers is a way to look. I haven't seen any props on either sacks or turnovers, but I mean, you're probably going to have to pay a premium for sacks or interceptions, given how Matthew Stafford and that Rams offense looked against the 49ers. But look, the Rams are 29th in the league, allowing 4 sacks a game. They're tied for 28th in the league, giving up 2.3 turnovers a game. And the Cowboys defense, led by Parsons, tied for 2nd in the league, 3.8 sacks a game. So we're probably looking at a 3.5, 4.5 number. I think it's going to be a tough sledding for the Rams on offense, especially if they don't get center Brian Allen back. It seems like everything has fallen apart with him out of there. I also like TJ Hawkinson to get in the end zone in New England. I think we're going to continue to see points from the Lions. They can't stop anybody, so they have to score. And I would actually love to see DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown back in the lineup, because it would allow Hawkinson to be a little incognito in this matchup instead of Mark Mann against the Patriots. But 3 consecutive tight ends have reached the end zone last 3 weeks against New England's defense. I think Hawkinson will make it 4 for 4. You'll probably get plus money there, obviously, because it's an anytime touchdown scorer, but haven't seen a number on that as well.
Just as a reminder, we are filming on Wednesday. That's why the guys are saying we haven't seen a number. Prop market usually comes out Friday afternoon, but we're still trying to give you guys some of those looks. So because most of the props aren't out yet, we always give a best bet for Thursday Night Football. Andy Lang, who is your best bet in the prop market for the Indianapolis Colts at the Denver Broncos?
Well, I'm going to take a look at Melvin Gordon, but we're not going with an over. We're going with the under here on his rushing and receiving. It's 77.5. Some books have it at 76.5. So again, with props, super important to always shop around. You don't want to get burned by the hook when it was available in another book. So listen, Javonte Williams is out. So most people are going to be expecting Melvin Gordon to get tons of work and tons of stats. I'm going the other way. I think the under is the correct play. First off, the way to attack the Colts is through the air. Pro Football Focus has their rush defense graded as 7th best in the league. Their pass coverage is graded 27th. And Kelly, this was something I talked about all offseason leading up to the NFL. Take the overs on receivers because the Colts secondary is their weak spot. Looking at Melvin Gordon, so he averaged 4.7 yards per carry against Seattle and Houston. Not very good rush defenses. But then let's take a look here when he plays the 49ers and the Raiders. These are two top 12 ranked rush defenses. He only averaged 2.4 yards a carry. And outside of a 22-yard pass against San Francisco, he has 7 catches for 27 yards. So he's really not getting a whole lot done. I expect Mike Boone to be getting work in the passing game, and they just signed Latavius Murray. I don't think he gets all the work. And don't forget, Melvin Gordon has fumbled 4 times this season. That is a real liability. If he fumbles again, especially early in the game, I don't know if they're going to trust him. I just don't think he gets as much work as we all think. So I think there's real value on Melvin Gordon. I'm definitely playing that one under 77.5 rushing plus receiving.
What a stinker of a Thursday night game this is going to be. I don't think I'm going to be getting involved. So I'm looking for a prop bet, Tony, that's going to help me get by, make this game more watchable, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if we get a Philip Lindsay revenge game against the Broncos, since he should get some carries alongside Nyheim Hines. But maybe they'll cut into one another. So while I like the Nyheim Hines receiving prop, I think Alec Pierce is the way to go. The rookie out of Cincinnati really steamrolled past his receiving prop this past week. I was on that, both receptions and receiving yards, despite the fact that he only had 1 or 2 entering the fourth quarter, but they looked to him late in the game on late drives as they were moving the football. I think that continues with Matt Ryan looking the rookie's way. We're going over 34.5 receiving yards for rookie Alec Pierce.
I love it. Makes that game just a little more watchable for those of us at home. Thank you to Andy. Thank you to Tony. Appreciate you stopping by on Prop Shop. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then it's time for those best bets.
You're a winner at WagerTalk even before the game is played with our Wager Rewards program. How does it work? Simple. Earn wager rewards on every purchase made at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Those wager rewards can be converted into wager bucks on the first of every month. There is no additional fee to participate, and no additional details are required outside your valid WagerTalk or Sports Memo membership. On the first of each month, 5% of your wager rewards will be converted to wager bucks, which are available to purchase on all future purchases. Doesn't it feel good to be part of a rewards program with no additional hoops?
Welcome back to Bet On. And if you haven't caught it yet, this has been a tough week for me to find a best bet. If you remember, VR used to always say best bets are a little arbitrary. Trying to pick just one is difficult. Well, normally it's not difficult for me. This week I've got 4 teams, and they are all gross. Some are even grosser than others. So I'm going to take the least gross one and at least understand what I'm getting from this team. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus 5.5. Was 6 earlier in the week. This one's already been bet down. And I think this Cardinals team has had some luck go their way, particularly on the road. And hopefully that luck keeps up this week because we're going to need it. Philadelphia is good. They are, and I'm not going to deny that, but they have been winning the turnover battle. They lead the league with a +8 turnover differential. Something has to give. I don't think they're going to keep continuously winning that turnover battle week after week. I think on the Cardinals side, defensively, they've got to get to Jalen Hurts. He's already been sacked 9 times this year, and we need to keep the pressure coming. That being said, I think this is too many points for a team that gets a lot of grief for being a crappy home team and a good away team. I'm going to take the Cardinals +5.5 here. They are perfect 6-0 against NFC East in their last 6 times. And I'm going to hope that they can get the money line outright winner here for me, because I don't feel like sweating, especially if you guys saw this other list, man. It was gross. I tried to do my best for you. Best bets, hopefully keep cashing this week, even though I don't really love anything. Marco D'Angelo, I want you to promo your $2 Tuesday like you did on the College Football Show, and then give me your best bet for NFL Week 5.
All right, Kelly, since we did promo it already on the college show, I'll keep it short in case you missed it. $2 Tuesday is very simple. We pick a capper, we give best bet for $2, but it's only available on Tuesdays. I wanted to give the Bet On It viewers a treat because you're not seeing us till Wednesday night. So you can still get that $2 best bet, and that $2 best bet is from me. It's a 5% play. We have been running really hot on the weekends with our plays. In fact, over the last 12 days, we've been on a tear in all sports all day. So check it out. Pick up my 5% College Football Massacre on Saturday for $2. You don't need a coupon. Just go to the website and check it out. I also want to give out a quick shout out to Carmine Bianco and Adam Trigger. Both of those guys cashed big in the Circa Millions contest this week. It was the first quarter. The first 4 weeks concluded. Those two finished in a tie and chopped up first and second place money, which I believe was $210,000 combined, chopped in half. So kudos to those guys. And our own Joe Raineri is part of a team at the Westgate. Congratulations to you on your first, yours is what, the first 3-week
First 3
contest
weeks,
they run there. You guys cashed there as well, chopped up with 2 others, I believe, for that first place prize. So the WagerTalk crew's doing very well in these contests. And Kelly, you and I in the group we're in, we're bringing up the rear. We're 1 game out of first place in the contest that we are in. But
it's because we're in the contest with Prez. If Prez wasn't in it, we would be perfect. We would have won. It is what it is.
Serves you both right for answering the phone.
I love to give Prez grief about his road chalk. I had one loser in there myself, but anytime you can make fun of the Prez, why would you want to?
Absolutely. So with that said, now we got all the ads out. We got all the pats on the back. Let's see if we can get a winner here. And we're going to go to the Saints. And I hope the Saints come marching in on Sunday. They're coming back from London. And a lot of people are probably going to look and say, hey, that's a bad travel spot for them. But this is a team that can't take anybody for granted. They're 1-3. They need to get the wins when they can get them. Last week, no Jameis Winston. Andy Dalton, he didn't do bad. 20 of 28 for 227 last week. They did have 2 turnovers, maybe a little rust with him, but they were going against the Vikings. The Vikings are a much better team than the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are 2-2, and they're coming off scoring 48 points. So who's not going to want to take a dog getting points that just scored 48 points last week? Well, I don't, because they scored those 48 points against a team that resembles a great big block of Swiss cheese, the Detroit Lions. You can go through them every which way. Just pick one of the holes. You want to run through it, you want to throw through it, you're going to score points against the Lions. That's not going to happen here this week against the Saints, especially in the Dome. I like them. I'm going to lay the points here. This will be the best defense that Seattle has faced since week 1 when they faced, of course, Denver. And Denver, old friend came to town, Russell Wilson, so they were up. Then they did play San Francisco on the road. They got San Francisco in a foul mood. We know the 49ers can play defense. They scored 7 points against them. The last 2 games, Atlanta and Detroit, no defense from either of those teams. The Saints, not as good as the 49ers. I'll retract saying the best defense they faced, but they are much better than the last 2 they faced. I think the Saints get it done. This will be a comfortable win. I've got the Saints winning 27-13. And yes, I know they haven't officially announced the quarterback. I don't care. If it's Andy Dalton, this will be a second game. If it's Jameis Winston, it's going to be because he's healthy. In the games that he has played so far, obviously he has not been healthy. He played hurt. They finally benched him, get him 100%. We'll go ahead, take the Saints. Either way, Winston or Dalton at QB.
Marco, I'm with you. I like the Saints as well, but you make a good point. I was waiting to hear some injury news, but it doesn't really matter. We're talking maybe a half-point drop-off between the two. Joe Raineri, let's make it 3 for 3. I need some backing on these gross plays I have before I release my card for Sunday morning.
I love it. I love the grossness across the board here, and I'm going to stick with Marco's game there, Seattle and New Orleans. Cal, only I am looking very specifically here to a first half over in this one, 22.5 or 23 in this, and here's what you need to know. Geno Smith MVP votes? Anybody? Raise your hand. Nobody? Okay, listen. The guy is the most accurate passer in the NFL right now through the first 4 weeks. Forget about that game against Detroit. I get it. But Seattle's defense is not great. In fact, usually it doesn't show up ever. And it certainly hasn't so far this year. So you're not worried about, and I don't care who plays quarterback, Andy Dalton, whether it be Winston. There are rumors, of course, the offensive tackle Pete will be back, Thomas, Kamara. There will be some weapons back, but it's not going to make a difference. I don't think that, and they're kind of like the wounded dog, right? They're an animal in the corner. They've lost, 3 in a row now? They need to get a win. They're going to be at home, so I do think scoring is not going to be a problem here for New Orleans. I also know that New Orleans does an amazing job of shooting themselves in the foot, whether it be the most penalized team that we have seen thus far this year, or turnovers in the most inopportune time. I do think Seattle is going to get theirs. We don't need a lot, Cal, in the first half. A couple of touchdowns here, a bunch of field goals. There are going to be opportunities for these offenses to score, and I do think they will. I think they're going to score early. I think eventually maybe New Orleans, that defense will get the better of Geno Smith in the second half, but we saw Geno with Denver, right, in the first half. Unstoppable how good he has been early in games. I think that continues here. I got no problem taking the first half over, 22.5, 23, somewhere in that ballpark. We're going to get some points in a fun game early on there.
All right, I don't know how I feel about that one because I do like the Saints, but you are right. I don't know a single person that has a Geno Smith MVP ticket. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, it's time for the recap.
The entire WagerTalk family would like to wish our very own Hakeem Prophet and Rob Vino a happy birthday with a special 2-for-1 promotion to lock in both handicappers for the next 3 days at the price of one. Rob and Ski both celebrate their birthday on Wednesday, but we want to keep this party going for 3 days. So instead of paying $118 to bet alongside them, we cut the price in half and you can lock them both up for 3 days for only $59. Happy birthday and happy betting.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Now it's time to button everything up for you guys. If you missed the show, it was funny. Not as funny as the college show, but it was still really funny. Always a good time with Marco and Joe. We're going to start off with a not such good time on Thursday Night Football. Indianapolis at Denver. Joe says just give him the first half under 20.5. He'd rather watch paint dry. And Marco says he'll take a bite with the Colts plus 3.5, maybe in a little overreaction to no JT. As far as Sunday night goes, Marco and I are in lockstep. If you like Baltimore for at least the foreseeable future, take them in the first half because that defense lets up in the second half, and that is not fun. And speaking of that defense, Joe hopes they let up because he has the over 48. We're going to skip the teaser segment because they're absolutely trash. Jokes on me. Okay, Green Bay for Marco -2. Minnesota down to -1. I'm going to take that Green Bay and pair it with Joe's Tampa Bay -2.5, and he's going to add Jacksonville -1. Looks so easy. Are you guys high? Yeah, well, we think they're a little stoned in Cleveland. Joe says give him the under in Cleveland, under 47.5. Marco had to close the deli after last week, so he said the trap game. Baker Mayfield's not done yet. Give him the 6.5. Speaking of those underdogs, Joe's got the Jets +3.5. Marco's got Cleveland +2.5. And Marco's best bet is the New Orleans Saints, and I was very close to making that one my best bet, but I overthought it. So he can have that one, and I will just tail him. And Joe's going to that same game, but he's taking the first half over 22.5, saying points will be a plenty. And I chose the least ugly dog on my list, and that is Arizona +5.5. From Joe, Marco, Ralph, Andy, Tony Mejia, and myself. We'll see you guys on Monday. Until then, let's bet on it.